All right, let's dive into these upcoming residential launches in Singapore. Looks like we've got a pretty hefty document here.
Yeah, it's pretty comprehensive.
Over 20 new developments slated for the end of 2024 and into 2025. It's broken down by region, CCR, RCR, OCR.
We've got the type of sale, GLS, on-block, redevelopment. We've even got estimated launch dates, the number of units, potential prices. It's really quite a lot to unpack.
This is really for anyone, whether they're, getting ready for some big real estate investment meeting.
Absolutely. Or just trying to stay ahead of the curve.
Exactly. So this is going to be our guide.
It's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, it is going to be fun. I can already tell. So just imagine you're standing on top of, I don't know, pick your favorite Singapore skyscraper. You can see the whole city laid out and you see all these new developments just kind of popping up.
All these little sparkling new condos.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's really great to see the variety. You've got the very high-end exclusive projects in the CCR, but you also have family-friendly developments out in the RCR and OCR. Of course, we can't forget the executive condominiums, the ECs.
Yeah, those are great.
Yeah, very attractive for a lot of people.
Especially for someone like me who's,
Trying to get a foot in the door.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to break in. Yeah. So we're looking at, let's see, average prices. CCR, $3,532 per square foot.
Wow.
RCR, $2,662.
Still pretty penny.
OCR, tempting $2,244 per square foot.
That is tempting.
And then the ECs.
Averaging around $1,689.
Ooh, that's very nice. I like that. Yeah, those ECs sound like they deserve their own deep dive later on, for sure.
Maybe we'll do a whole session just on that.
Exactly. Yeah, maybe we will. But let's zoom in. Let's look at a few of these developments a little more closely. What is catching your eye, maybe in that very prestigious CCR?
Well, one that stands out right away is Newport Residences.
Ooh, tell me more.
Developed by City Developments. It's got that coveted Anson Road address.
Oh, yeah, that's prime.
And it's freehold, which, in Singapore, it's like winning the lottery. Freehold land in the CCR.
Freehold, the holy grail.
You just don't see that every day.
You don't. So that probably means it's got a pretty hefty price tag, I'm guessing.
I would imagine. But if you're looking for maybe a little bit more of a balance between prestige and value, maybe One Leone Residences.
Okay.
Developed by Far East Organization. It's also freehold.
Okay.
Which, again, huge plus. But it's only 37 units. Very exclusive.
Ooh, very boutique.
Boutique, exactly.
Yeah, so fewer units, less competition when you want to sell. Okay, I like it. But what about the views? What about those incredible views?
Well, of course, we have to mention Marina View Residences by IOI Properties.
Yeah, name says it all.
It really does. 683 units, right in the heart of the action. Amazing views.
683. Wow.
Big development.
You could have a whole little community right there. All right, so let's move away from the glitz and glamour of the CCR for a second and head over to the RCR. What did we find over there that was exciting?
The Ori,
Okay.
a joint venture between CDL and Fraser's Property. I like them both. Yeah, they're good. It's bringing 777 units to Toa Payoh.
Whoa, that's even bigger than the Marina View one.
It's a big one. And it's got a pretty attractive price point.
Okay.
So that's interesting.
Sweet spot? Maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay. Last but not least, let's head over to OCR.
Right.
What's the hidden gem over there?
Lenter Central is one to keep an eye on.
Okay.
By Intrepid Investments, Guoco Land, and CSC Land Group. 477 units.
Not too shabby.
But the location, Lentor,
What about it?
it's really up and coming. Lots of new amenities. It's got a real sense of community.
You can't put a price on that.
You really can't.
What else makes it stand out?
Well, Lentor, modern integrated development, bringing in new retail, food and beverage, lifestyle options, and then the Lentor MRT station on the Thompson East coastline.
Connectivity.
Connectivity, absolutely.
Okay, so Lenter Central, bustling development, up-and-coming locale. I like it. All right, so quick flyover of some exciting developments.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was fun. But before we get lost in all those details, let's talk about the big picture. Government land sales, GLS.
The engine that drives the market,
Okay.
dictating what gets built, where, and at what price point.
The roadmap for the future. Okay, I'm picturing a map now with all these little flags marking all these potential GLS sites.
Right. And we've got the confirmed list, which is guaranteed, and then the reserve list. A little bit more, but can be triggered for tender.
Okay.
But lots of activity in districts 1, 5, and 26.
What kind of sites are we talking about?
Residential, but also mixed use.
Those mixed-use sites. Those are exciting. Is that where we see the white sites that you mentioned?
Exactly.
The ones with a little bit more creative freedom for the developers?
White sites are blank canvases for developers. They can do a lot with those.
Hmm.
More flexibility. You could have residential units, co-working spaces.
Yeah.
Imagine a rooftop urban farm, a community clinic, all in one place.
Wow. It's like that self-contained ecosystem.
Right.
Very cool.
So much potential.
So GLS shaping the residential landscape, but why should I care about that?
Well, GLS sites, they offer really great opportunities to kind of get in on the ground floor.
Ah, okay.
Brand new unit, latest features. The government also vets the developers very carefully.
So there's that quality and reliability.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's not just about individual projects, it's really about the overall market health and direction. That's great. Okay, before we move on though, can we circle back to the ECs?
Let's do it.
They seem to be very attractive, especially for those first-time buyers. But what makes them different?
Well, they're developed and sold by private developers, but there's this public-private housing scheme structure in there.
It's like a hybrid.
Exactly.
Okay.
More affordable entry point for those who maybe aren't quite ready for a full condo.
Okay. Sounds like a win-win. But what's the catch? There's got to be a catch, right?
Yeah, there are some restrictions. The main one is that 5-year minimum occupancy period, or MOP.
Mm-hmm.
You can't sell it on the open market for at least 5 years.
Huh.
There are also income ceilings for buyers. And during that MOP, you can't just rent out the whole unit.
So you're really in it for the long haul. You
Yeah.
can't just flip it for a quick profit. But I imagine there are some long-term benefits that make it worth it.
After 10 years, it's fully privatized. You can sell it on the open market,
Just like a regular condo?
just like any other condo.
Mm.
And since ECs are usually priced lower than private condos, there's huge potential for capital appreciation.
You got to be patient, but it could pay off big time.
Big time.
Like planting a seed and watching it grow. We've got a couple of pretty nice EC launches coming up, right?
Yeah, in Tampines.
Okay, what are they?
Tampines Street 95 EC
Mm-hmm.
by Simlian Group, 560 units.
Yeah.
And then we've got Aurel at Tampines EC by Simlian Land and Development, 760 units.
Wow.
Both in Tampines.
So we've got the CCR, the RCR, the OCR, we've got the ECs, we've got GLS. I'm already feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah, it's a lot.
How is our listener supposed to make sense of all of this? Where do we even begin?
Well, that is a great question, and that is exactly what we're going to unpack in part 2.
Ooh, stay tuned.
This is just the beginning.
We're just getting started.
All right, welcome back to the strategic side of navigating these launches.
Strategic. I'm still trying to catch my breath from part 1. I feel a little lost, like I'm trying to design a whole skyscraper, but all I've got is like a compass and a dream. So where do we even start narrowing down all these options?
Well, whether you see yourself as an investor, a homeowner, first principle is always the same. Location, location, location.
Okay, that's classic real estate advice. But what does location really mean when we're talking about these new launches? It's got to be more than just picking a random spot on the map, right?
Right, it's about understanding those little micro markets within the city. Existing amenities, good schools nearby, how's the connectivity, can you get your morning Kopi fix at a nice little park?
Okay, so it's all about lifestyle.
It is. But it's also about the future. Are there any major infrastructure projects? New MRT lines coming, commercial hubs. These things can really affect those property values down the line.
So we're not just looking at what is, we're looking at what will be.
Exactly. You wouldn't buy a stock without looking at its growth potential.
True. All right, makes sense. So location's key. What else? What else should we be thinking about?
Well, the type of development. Do you want that high-rise condo with all the bells and whistles? The resort-style pool, a gym that could rival a 5-star hotel?
Sounds fancy.
It is. Or maybe you're thinking smaller, more intimate, low density, a little bit more privacy, maybe even a landed property.
Okay, so it depends on your lifestyle.
Lifestyle and your investment goals. What are you really after?
Like choosing a car, some people want a sporty little convertible, others need a spacious SUV.
Perfect analogy. And speaking of space,
Yeah.
we need to think about the unit itself.
Right, the actual layout.
How big is it? How is it configured? Do you need 3 bedrooms? Are you working from home? Do you need a home office?
I could use an extra room, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But there's one thing we haven't talked about yet that I think is really important.
What's that?
The developer's reputation.
Ah, yes. Very important.
It's like choosing someone to build your dream home. You want someone who's, reliable, trustworthy.
Exactly. Look at their past projects.
Yeah.
Talk to people who live in their developments. A little due diligence goes a long way.
Yeah, word of mouth is gold. All right, so location, type of development, developer reputation, those are all really important things to consider. But let's be real for a second. It all comes down to the money.
Pricing, always a factor.
How can our listeners make sense of all the numbers?
Well, we've talked about average prices in each region, but you have to go beyond that. Look at trends in specific micro markets. Are prices going up? Are they going down? What about rental yield? Is this an investment property?
So many things to think about. I feel like I need a degree in finance just to understand all this.
Well, it can get complicated. But speaking of getting specific, let's go back to some of those developments we talked about earlier. Newport Residences, Marina View Residences. What's the latest on those?
Yeah, what about those launch dates? And the prices?
Well, Newport Residence is keeping the launch date a secret for now. But, freehold on Anson Road, those units are going to go fast. Marina View Residences, get ready, January 2025.
Mark your calendars.
Amazing views, but they'll come at a price.
I can only imagine.
Worth it for some people, though. Now, for the Ori, January 3rd, 2025.
Okay.
777 units, a lot of units. That's something to consider.
Impact resale, right?
Possibly. But that price, it's attractive.
It is a tough choice. So many things to weigh.
Exactly.
What about Lentor Central? What did we find out about that one?
February 2025, 477 units. Neighborhood is changing quickly. And remember, the Lentor MRT station, game changer.
All about that convenience?
It is. So we've got the launch dates. We've looked at location, development type, developer reputation, pricing. It's like we're property detectives putting together all the pieces.
I like that.
But, and this is important, don't just jump at the first shiny launch you see.
Okay.
Do your research. Consider your goals. This is a big decision.
Whether you're investing or looking for a new place to live. All right, now, let's shift gears for a bit. Let's talk more about government land sales, GLS. We talked about how important it is, but let's get into the details a little bit more.
Okay. GLS, it's the heartbeat of new supply. It's the way the government manages land. Make sure the market is balanced and sustainable. Good for everyone.
Right, the big picture stuff. But can you break it down a little bit more?
Well, we've got the confirmed list. That's the main stage. Guaranteed sites for tender. Some really prime locations, District 1, District 9. There'll probably be some pretty fierce bidding wars.
High stakes.
Yeah. Then we've got the reserve list. More of a waiting room.
Okay.
Not guaranteed. They only get triggered if a developer submits a high enough bid.
So the government can kind of adjust based on what's happening in the market.
Exactly. And those white sites can be on either list.
Oh, yeah, the wild cards.
It's exciting.
So why is GLS so important for our listeners? Why should they care?
Well, it's about opportunity. You often get really good prices compared to buying resale. Brand new units, all the latest features, plus the government. They vet those developers.
Quality control.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's not just about the land itself, it's about what could be built on it, the potential. All right, and before we wrap up this part of the deep dive, let's talk a little bit more about the ECs.
Okay.
Who do you think benefits the most from this EC scheme?
Singapore citizens. Young families who want to own private property, but maybe not quite there financially yet for a full condo.
It's a good stepping stone.
It is. Attractive prices, long-term potential.
We know there are those restrictions. Can you remind us what those are again?
That 5-year minimum occupancy period, the MOP. You can't sell on the open market for at least 5 years. Income ceilings for buyers. You also can't rent out the entire unit during that time. No speculation.
Keeps things fair.
It does.
So ECs are for those people who are in it for the long haul. They're playing the long game.
Exactly. Patience pays off. And with those new launches in Tampines Street 95 EC, Orel at Tampines EC.
Some good options to consider. Okay, so we've talked about location, development types, developer reputation, pricing, GLS, all those EC details. We've really covered a lot, but something's still missing.
What's that?
It's like we built this beautiful house, but we haven't talked about how to pay for it yet.
You're right. We need to talk about financing, loans, interest rates, down payments, and, of course, those lovely stamp duties.
Okay, now I'm nervous. But that's exactly what we'll be covering in part 3.
Get your calculators ready. We're about to demystify the world of property financing.
Okay, we're back. Time to face the music. The financial music, that is.
It's the reality check part of the process.
Excitement meets spreadsheets.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of loans and interest rates and all that fun stuff, how do you even know if you qualify for a home loan in Singapore? It's not like they just hand them out, right?
No, definitely not. Lenders here, they really do their homework.
What are they looking at? What are the secret ingredients to get that loan approved?
Well, your income is a big one, of course.
Yeah.
They want to see that you've got a steady income, something that can handle those monthly payments. And your credit score is really important.
It's like your financial GPA.
Exactly. Payment history, outstanding debt, all that good stuff. And don't forget about any other debts you might already have. Car loans, credit cards, personal loans.
So it's all about showing that you're responsible with your money.
Yeah, basically. It's about making sure you can manage those repayments without, stretching yourself too thin.
It's like a safety net for everyone.
Right.
Okay, so income, credit score, existing debt, anything else they're looking at?
Employment history is a factor. The longer you've been with a good company, the better. And then there's the TDSR,
The TDSR.
total debt servicing ratio. It basically limits how much of your income can go towards paying off all your debts, including that mortgage.
So they're making sure you don't bite off more than you can chew.
Yeah, it's there to protect borrowers, keeps the
Yeah.
whole financial system stable.
All right, so let's say you've jumped through all those hoops. You're eligible for a loan. Then comes the fun part, interest rates.
Ah, yes, interest rates.
They're like those storms that pop up out of nowhere. You think everything's calm, and then boom, there it is.
Well, they can be unpredictable, but there are different types of interest rates. You've got fixed rates, floating rates, and even combinations of both. Fixed rates, they're predictable. You know exactly what you're going to be paying every month.
So if you like knowing what to expect.
Exactly. Peace of mind. But they can be a bit higher than floating rates.
Okay, so what about floating rates?
Floating rates, they're tied to those benchmark rates like SIBOR or SORA. They can go up, they can go down.
It's a gamble.
It is, but it could save you money in the long run.
Yeah.
And then you've got those hybrid packages. A little bit of both. Something for everyone.
So many choices. It's a choose-your-own-adventure novel.
Right.
Okay, but no matter what type of rate you're looking at, shop around.
Always shop around.
Get the best deal.
Compare those offers. Negotiate. It's worth the effort.
Okay, so we've got eligibility, interest rates, but let's talk about the down payment.
The big one.
This is where it gets real. For most people, this is the biggest hurdle.
In Singapore, for your first property, you usually need to put down at least 20%.
20%. That's a lot of money.
It is. And if you're thinking about a second property, even more.
I'm starting to sweat just thinking about it.
So yeah, start saving early. And don't just focus on those monthly payments. Those upfront costs are important too.
It's like planning a vacation. Got a budget for everything, the flights, the hotel, those little souvenirs. You can't go anywhere without that plane ticket. And the down payment's like that plane ticket.
I like that. And then on top of all that, we've got stamp duties.
Oh, yeah. Can't forget those.
Those pesky little taxes. But they're important to understand.
Can you break it down for us?
Well, you've got your buyer's stamp duty, BSD. Everyone pays that.
Huh.
Higher price, higher BSD. Then you've got the additional buyer's stamp duty, ABSD.
ABSD, that's the one for foreigners, permanent residents, and citizens buying their second property, right?
That's the one. Rates depend on a few things, but it's basically there to help manage demand, keep things affordable.
So the government's trying to make sure everyone has a chance to own a place.
Exactly. But those stamp duties, they can add up. Make sure you factor them into your budget.
Don't let them sneak up on you.
Right.
All right, so eligibility, interest rates, down payments, stamp duties. We've covered a lot of ground here. Hopefully our listeners are feeling a little less lost now, maybe even a little bit empowered.
I hope so. Information is key. And remember, you're not alone in all this. There are people who can help you.
Oh, good point.
Yeah.
Mortgage brokers, property agents.
They can make the process a lot smoother.
It's like having a guide in the jungle.
Exactly.
So what's the big takeaway from all of this?
Singapore's property market, it's exciting. It's full of opportunity, but you got to be smart. You got to do your research, you got to plan, and you got to get good advice.
Whether you're a seasoned investor or just starting out, this is a big decision, so make it count.
Absolutely.
This deep dive has been quite a journey,
It has.
but hopefully it's given our listeners the knowledge and the confidence to navigate this crazy world of Singapore real estate.
And remember, this is just the beginning. Keep learning.
The market's always changing. So what will your next move be? We can't wait to see what you do. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
And happy investing.